No one is supposed to die. She knocked 3 times, lightly. It was a small motel located on a back road near the New Haven town line that had probably seen better days, back before the interstate took all the traffic away. Now it offered hourly rates, jacuzzis, heart-shaped love tubs, mirrored rooms, and of course, the ever-popular jungle room. They ran an ad in the local paper, opposite the adult services classifieds. Location is everything, she thought. He opened the door a crack. "I'm Midori," she said, though the owner of the escort agency had warned the 19-year-old never give your real name. Midori didn't sound real. It sounded more like a concoction, a drink, a tasty treat. He let her in quickly as if not to be seen. He was in his late 50s at least, with a head of thick salt and pepper hair. He was well dressed in a dark suit with wingtips, still had his tie on. She hadn't expected him to be particularly good-looking, and he wasn't letting her down. When he still had yet to say a word, Midori lowered her eyes and bit down at her bottom lip. Then she looked up and touched a hand lightly to her mouth. Her voice was but a whisper. "Am I okay?" she asked. The man smiled. "You're perfect," he said finally. In a fucked up way, she thought. Once inside the room, not the jungle room, no mirrors, jacuzzis, or heart-shaped tubs, just a room, Midori asked the man for some identification. From his wallet he pulled a Connecticut driver's license. According to the laminated ID, his name was Ralph Dillard. He was 57, and he lived in the town of Bethlehem. "Thank you, Mr. Dillard," she said, handing the license back. He returned it to its place in the wallet behind a clear plastic window, then took out the cash. A wad of 20s, fresh and crisp. Probably from the ATM advertised in glowing neon at the gas station down the street. "You're not a member of any state or local police force, or the Federal Bureau of Investigation?" she asked. "God, no," he said with a nervous little laugh. "I run a funeral home." Taking the money, gas money, food money, a supplement to the scholarship, she folded it and put it inside her pocketbook, which she then lay on its side atop the closest night table. Its flap opened toward the bed, easy access to condoms, lubrication, massage oil, whatever she might need, and even a can of pepper spray, just in case. Then Midori sat down on the edge of the bed and waited for his instructions, smiling slightly at the irony. In a way, they both worked with stiffs. "10 minutes later, he was inside her, choosing to avoid conversation, light, lengthy, or otherwise, quite unlike her first 2 clients, one a week, only one a week, who seemed as frightened as she by the services she was being paid to perform. Midori lay on her back on the double bed, her eyes closed, wishing she could at least enjoy it more. But he was too small, too inept. It was all too rushed for her liking. Dillard tried to kiss her once, but she turned, giving him cheek. She would have if she found him the least bit attractive. It would have made it easier. More like a date. More like cruising for cute guys on a hot summer night back home in Billings, Making out Montana. And going all the way. Making out and going all the way, or not. That would always depend on the boy. That would always depend on the boy. Her mood. Or her mood. How many drinks. How many drinks. Or perhaps on nothing much at all. Perhaps on nothing much at all. It would have made it less like a job. "Oh God, forgive me," he was saying now. She usually thought the same thing, but not until after, a mental act of contrition saved for the ride home. She opened her eyes. Something was different now. Something was wrong. Instead of the look she expected, that edge of climax from which most men were so eager to leap, Dillard looked enraged. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Am I not making you happy?" "I'm sorry it has to be this way," he said. He raised his left hand then high over his head. Her eyes darted in its direction. Just in time, coming fast, something in his hand. She snapped her head to the left just as his fist crashed into the pillow near her head. She moved fast, as she would have if one of those cute hometown boys needed to learn quickly the meaning of no. Reaching down, grabbing his balls with her left hand, she twisted hard, digging her nails in. "You fucking little whore!" he screamed, his words garbled as he fell out of her, shrinking in the lubricated latex. He raised his fist again. Her right arm shot up, locked straight, gripping his left wrist, her eyes wide, trying to make sense. A rock! That's what it was. A goddamn rock in his hand. But that made no sense at all. And his mumbling, not a curse but a prayer. For her soul? For his? Something like, "This is the gate of the Lord through which the righteous may enter." She struggled to get out from under him, but he was holding her, screaming into her face, not noticing her other arm outstretched, her fingers reaching into her bag. If she could just find the pepper spray. She knew it was in there. But a tampon. Christ. Lipstick. Come on. There had to be something. Then she felt it. The point so sharp. The hard rubber end. Her fingers wrapped around it, gripping it, pulling it from her purse, making it count. All of her strength. One jab. Just one stab. Sideways. Catching him in the neck, then yanking forward, yanking hard, screaming as loud as he, her rage ripping wide his wound. Dillard dropped the rock, clutching at his throat. No words, no prayers, just a gurgling. Midori pulled herself away, crawled off the bed, arms and legs flailing, anything to get away. She'd have chewed off a limb to get away. Falling onto the floor to the far side of the room, to the wall, pulling herself in. He turned his head to look at her. The blood everywhere now. A small cough, where words might have been. Probably not what he expected. Probably not his plan. And Dillard fell forward finally, landing on the pillow where Midori's head just lay. Landing on the pencil's eraser, pushing its sharpened tip that much farther in, that much farther home. When she could breathe again, when she was certain the man on the bed never again would, Midori stood, her legs a little shaky. She stepped into the bathroom, the light harsh like her image in the mirror. She ripped off a few sheets of toilet paper and used them to turn the water on. She became suddenly aware of fingerprints, fingerprints dancing in her head. Wasn't that how every criminal was caught? Criminal. What she did was criminal. What she did was self-defense. What she did... She splashed water on her arms, washing away the blood. She splashed water onto her face, washing away the sweat, the fear. She splashed water into her mouth, washing away the taste, the bile that had lodged somewhere in the back of her throat. She so wanted to brush her teeth. There was a toothbrush in her purse, but no time. She rubbed fingertips over her teeth and gums, using her fingernails as floss to dislodge or scratch away what really wasn't there. Then drying herself with one of those threadbare, once-white motel hand towels, Midori returned to the bedroom. Dillard hadn't moved. She wondered if she really expected him to, like in a play, like in a movie. The curtain falls, the director yells cut, and the dead actor rises again, from the dead, ready to perform, to live, love, to die, to kill again. Her clothes were on a chair opposite the bed. She put them on quickly, her tank top first, then her skirt. Still watching Dillard, she slipped on her shoes, doing the same. Then Midori set about removing her traces. She picked up the blue and silver foil condom wrapper from the night table, Then, using the toilet paper, she wiped off everything she could remember touching. The arms of the chair, the chrome of his belt buckle, and the pull on the Dillard zipper, both of which she had undone. Then, retrieving his wallet from the back pocket, Midori pulled out his license and wiped that down as well. Then she checked his cash. There was over $1,500, all in 50s and hundreds. Why had he paid her in 20s? Was it to make him seem real, less threatening? As if someone with smaller bills was less likely to murder? Midori fingered the edges of the bills for a moment, then pulled them free of the leather. What was a little larceny when compared to murder and prostitution? Nothing, she thought, throwing the bills into her purse. Then there was the pencil. She needed the pencil. Using the towel as a buffer between herself and the dead man, she pushed his head to one side, then grabbed the little nub of eraser which poked out just to the side of his Adam's apple. She yanked it out in one fluid motion, the small suction sound sending shivers down her spine. Then, dropping the blood-soaked pencil onto the open towel, she wrapped it completely, putting the weapon back into her purse. Taking one last look around, she walked to the door, and with tissue-covered fingers turned the handle, wiping it down and pulling the door open in the same moment. She switched off the light, stepped into the night, then shut and locked the door behind her. There was no one in the Elm City Motor Lodge parking lot, just a few cars. Her black VW, a gift from her grandmother, made her promise she'd use it to escape Billings, Montana, was parked a few doors down. She walked to it swiftly, not looking back, not thinking. She just drove, back toward downtown New Haven, but not to her dorm room, not to the ivy-covered stone walls of Yale. Her roommate would know. Her roommate would sense. She'd noticed the way Midori brushed her teeth. Midori always brushed her teeth when she was nervous or frightened, before tests or first dates or a Christmas flight back home, for 10, 20 minutes at a time, until her gums bled and she couldn't stand to brush anymore. She brushed them now, pulling the toothbrush from her purse. No toothpaste, but it didn't matter. What mattered was the repetitive motion, the sound of the bristles moving against her teeth, the tightness of the muscles in her forearm as she moved the brush in a static motion inside her mouth. Turning right instead of left, she headed not to Yale, but instead to a bar where she would drink and find a cute college boy, one who would take her to his room and make love to her all night long. His youthful enthusiasm burning away the stench, his passion diluting the horror, his appreciation obliterating the memory that she should be dead now, could be dead now. That a middle-aged man from Bethlehem, Connecticut had tried to bash her head in with a rock while he fucked her for money.